And here is the Writer's Almanac for Wednesday, August 21st, 2019. It's the birthday of the novelist Robert Stone, born Brooklyn, 1937, raised by his mother, who was schizophrenic, and when she went into an institution, he went into a Catholic orphanage. Sometimes he and his mother would drive cross-country and end up in a Salvation Army shelter or a random hotel. He said, "My early life was very strange. I was a solitary. Radio fashioned my imagination." Dropped out of high school, joined the Navy, moved to New York City, worked as a copy boy at the Daily News, went briefly to NYU, got married, moved to New Orleans, and there he was inspired to write his first novel entitled A Hall of Mirrors, which came out in 1967. Robert Stone served as a correspondent in Vietnam for a British magazine where he got material to come home and write the novel Dog Soldiers. Came out in 1974, story of a burnt-out playwright, John Converse, who leaves the fading counterculture of California to work as a correspondent in Vietnam and ends up smuggling heroin out of the country. It won the National Book Award. Robert Stone said writing is lonely. Most of the time you're in a room by yourself. Writers spend more time in rooms, staying awake in quiet rooms, than they do hunting lions in Africa. So it's a bad life for a person because it's so lonely and because it consists of such highs and lows. And there's not always anywhere to take these emotional states. It's a life that's tough to sustain without falling prey to some kind of beguiling diversion that's not good for you. It's the birthday of the poet X.J. Kennedy, born Joseph Charles Kennedy, Dover, New Jersey, 1929, grew up working class, Irish. His father was a timekeeper at the local boiler factory. He recited poems to his son, who went off to college and started writing poetry of his own. Served in the Navy for 4 years. He said, "I enlisted in the Navy to avoid serving in the infantry. I'd also been reading Moby Dick, and I had a rather glamorous view of the seas." His first book of poetry came out in 1961, Nude Descending a Staircase. Gone on to publish many books of children's poems, including Ghastly's Goops and Pincushions, and his big collection, The Lords of Misrule, poems 1992 to 2002. X.J. Kennedy, who said, "I like poems where you don't really know whether to laugh or cry when you read them." Here's a poem by Joyce Sutphen, Grandma Clara. About noon she arrived in her blue and white Bel Air by Chevrolet, in which she did not see the USA, but only the road from her house in town to the farm she built with her husband, who died as soon as they retired, and that is why she came each day, just to have something to do, to help us with the work we had inherited from her, the strawberry fields, gardens, apple orchards, and grapevines, rhubarb stalks, potato patch, rows of sweet corn, wild plums and gooseberries, and all those fields of corn and oats and hay, pastures too, above the house and woods or down by the meadow where the green grass grew. Who would not return to such a place? I see her walking across the lawn in her straw hat, hoe in hand, ready to chop away whatever weeds dared grow between the perfectly mounded hills of potatoes, those rows that would feed us all through the cold white winter, when she would come less often, though we would see her every morning in the back of church, praying, no doubt, for the whole crop of us. A poem by Joyce Sutphen, Grandma Clara, from Carrying Water to the Field, new and selected poems published by University of Nebraska Press. That's the Writer's Almanac for Wednesday, August 21st. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.